All right, are we all set up? Evaluators, are you ready? Mr. Carson Timer, are you ready?
Do I get to see the timer?
Would you like to?
I would like to.
Can you make that available, Carson?
Thanks, Carson.
Excellent. And Allison, once again, what is your topic?
Why self-defense should be taught in schools.
Excellent. Are you ready?
I am.
And proceed.
Can you believe, in an article published by CNN, Last Access on October of 2022, the author states, from the countryside to big cities, 114 people were killed and 242 were injured in shootings at K-12 schools from 2009 through 2018. This is a very scary statistic and one that is very concerning. We can't control others' actions all the time inside of these school walls. So what are we going to do to help protect our students and our staff? Self-defense should be taught in schools starting in middle school because it will help prepare students and staff in the case of a physical threat, and it will also build personality and character. I will talk about two problems today, both inside and outside schools, that students deal with where self-defense is needed. The first problem I will talk about is the problem inside of schools and the fear of physical threats. School should be a safe place that children feel safe going to and parents feel safe sending their kids to. However, this isn't always the case. The Journal of Child and Family Studies 2018 found that unfortunately school violence is ever present, and fear for safety affects not only students but also teachers, staff, and communities. Violence is growing. We see it on the news, we hear about it at school. So what are we going to do? Back in August 2022, World of Self-Defense described the fears of parents and violence. They concluded that some don't want their children to think about violence, and they want to keep them sheltered. They believe school should be a happy place full of warm fuzzies, and violence is not even associated, let alone mentioned in school. However, this isn't the reality. School is a place to learn, whether that is about good, positive information, or if it's the unfortunate truth of life, some of the bad, negative things. Another scary thing is who is causing these shootings. The previously cited Journal of Child and Family Studies stated that mass school shootings were perpetrated by 77% adolescents and 23% adults. Anybody in this school right now could be having violent thoughts. So what are we going to do to protect our students? So I have talked about how there's fear of physical threats inside of schools, but there's also fears outside of schools too that students deal with. One of these is harassment. There are lots of problems outside of schools that students deal with, whether that's with health, friends, family, and as I said, one of these can be harassment. According to the media, in November of 2020, in the US, more than 75,000 students aged 12 through 18 experienced violent crimes, and 67% of all sexual assaults are to kids and can cause mental illnesses and trauma within those kids. These are very distracting aspects that students may deal with, and how do we expect them to learn when they're not receiving help? School should help and provide self-defense and mental health services for those going through these unfortunate circumstances and those who may potentially go through these unfortunate circumstances. So, what are our solutions to these problems? The first solution I will talk about where self-defense benefits the students and staff inside of school is that it helps benefit us physically. The Medium in 2020 gave us the definition of self-defense, saying self-defense is a set of skills that allow a person to defend themselves by using physical force. Self-defense is not used to harm others. It is used to protect oneself, and it can cover different scenarios. It can help analyze the actions of others, whether that's your peers or a potential perpetrator, and it should be taught to the appropriate age and in the appropriate setting. So this would be around middle school because they are mature enough to understand why they are learning these skills and when they should be able to use these skills. These classes would go over the basic principles of self-defense, including martial arts, which is just physical defense of your body. Another way that self-defense can be taught is through armed assailant drills. In 2021, the National Association of School Psychologists presented a plan for armed assailant drills that prepare law enforcement, staff, and students. Students learn to adapt in these drills, and it can find weaknesses in plans where they may be getting a little stuck. And you can have different examples and extents. You can have simple examples for your younger ages and more extreme examples for your older ages. You can have a soft lockdown drill, a regular lockdown drill, option-based drills where you barricade doors, or you evacuate the building, or you can have full shooter simulations involved with the law enforcement, of course with parental consent. Other things that have been done is that there's been governmental plans put in place to help protect the students. The Congressional Digest viewed some of these different government programs in 2021. They viewed the Now is the Time program, which was developed by the White House in 2013 and brought resource officers and counselors to schools and made sure most schools have emergency plans. They also viewed the Federal Commission on School Safety created by Trump in 2018 after Parkland shooting in Florida, which increased mental health awareness in schools. The more plans we have in schools, the safer our students and our staff will be. So we can see how self-defense benefits us physically, but it can also benefit us mentally. The previously cited media reasoned that martial arts teaches discipline, hard work, perseverance, responsibility, integrity, and courage. This is how martial arts can benefit us mentally. We will feel more confident if we know how to protect ourselves, and it teaches you things you don't just learn by reading a textbook. Evolve Daily in February of 2022 suggested that self-defense helps create personality traits that a troubled student needs, and lessen the chance that a student will become a threat to the school. Self-defense is making better people out of the potential victims and the potential perpetrators. In conclusion, we have identified the ways that there are different problems inside of schools with physical threats and outside of schools, and in return, we have assembled a list of solutions where self-defense would benefit students and staff. Self-defense should be taught in school, starting in middle school, because it will help prepare in the case of a physical threat, and it will help build personality and character. Self-defense creates a safer classroom today and a safer world.
Thank you. Had a fly bus by me, right? It says writing solid ending. You know, I almost wrote solid buzzing. That's about copy about halfway through. We do have time. Take time. One thing I'm really strong about on evaluations or not strong about, insistent about is if you deduct points, like explain why. I try to give some reasoning behind that. Official time, 6:07.
606.97.
6:07:07. So we're what?
0.1.
0.1 second off.
Thank you. Pretty
Right. That was sorry, that's really poorly written, 6:07.
Anything is the part. I put two things around. And so I said something, and then I said I got to say something else, and I like snuck it in there. For me, it was most of it.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's just like musicians, you know, they screw up one thing on the guitar. Oh, that was horrible. Nobody knows. So I don't think that was ever good. Oh, I can tone the voice.
With all the friends, mentioned that or not, that's why there was a part that I was saying, that we hear about in schools.
Right,
So-
right. And it's not that I think it takes away from this view, but I think
Yeah.
added to.
I know, I just didn't know if it was a situation, and I just didn't want to set my defense. So I love the fence, but
Did you teach you tell you that it's already?
yeah. Mhm.
So you kind of know what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess if I were to have concerns more at the beginning,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
pretty darn so much. And what happened is you start doing this because of this. And oops, I spelled that wrong. What would happen is you'd be do. Turn on. Super good setup, super awesome. But you tell you working on those. Yeah, great. There was definitely, I really felt there was good full summary, great, solid ending. So if I were to have any concern to be here, and to a lesser extent here.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yep, make sure I get your cars and that back and all the other ones back before you leave today.
Yes. Yes.
We get into Allison when we're done.
Yeah, right.
Again, when I copies of everything tomorrow. You up for Bellows? Oh, the evaluation's back, yeah. Bella, what is your topic?
Why student athletes should, or high school athletes should be drug tested.
Audience, are you ready? Bella, are you ready? And proceed.
Throughout life, we face many challenges throughout different stages of life. During teenage years, there's so many responsibilities we encounter which cause stress. Many teenagers cope with using drug and alcohol to help cope with the stress in their life. The Division of Alcohol and Drug Education Service researched that 19% of male athletes and 7% of female athletes report they would use a substance to enhance performances, and 11% of athletes report having played or practiced while under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Athletes are more likely to use drug and alcohol because of pressure and stress due to sports. It has been said before that the reason why athletes use drugs and alcohol is because they are determined to win and compete in sports. How do we solve this problem? How we solve this problem is enforcing drug testing. But the problem of enforcing drugs is a violation of privacy. According to the Minnesota State High School League, there is a contract you have to sign to be able to be eligible to play sports, and one of them being chemical eligibility. You sign a contract, and your parents also sign a contract, stating you will not use, sell, or be around alcohol, drugs, tobacco, etc. Even though the Minnesota State High School League rules state don't enforce drug testing, the school district can enforce them. This may be controversial because of it being unconstitutional to enforce this. The Fourth Amendment states that every human being has a right to have privacy. They can, with law enforcement can't search through people's belongings, through their house, anything without improbable cause. They have to have a warrant and reasonable reasonings. Although the 14th Amendment says they have to have due process. Although there's been a few court cases against school districts, like the Veronica versus Acton, which was the Veronica School District enforced the drug testing towards all high school athletes. Acton, being a seventh grade football player, and him and his parents denied being tested. Since then, the Veronica district suspended him for playing football. So they took this to court, and the court decided that this was constitutional because the Veronica School District met the reasonings for reasonableness. Marquette Sports Law Review states, Justice Thomas authored students who voluntarily participate in school extracurricular have the reason to expect instructions upon normal rights and privileges, and therefore have a limited expectations of privacy, a call for drug testing. Now, another problem may be is expenses. How will we pay for drug tests? According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, abuse of tobacco, alcohol, and illicit drugs cost Americans more than $740 billion annually in costs related to healthcare, crime, and lost work productivity. All that money that has gone towards drugs, anything just like stated, healthcare, crime, and loss of work productivity. This can go towards the money that had to pay for drug tests. The solution to this, funds can be provided to help pay for these drug tests by the community. Yes, the community might say that why should they pay for them? These are not my kids. I have no responsibility for them. Yes, they may not be your kids, but it can help better your community and decrease crime rates. Athlete businesses showed a report in 2008 estimated that about 14% of US schools and random testing programs, the average cost of drug tests cost between $15 and $35. Another solution we can make is educational programs to students. Many kids don't understand the risks and damages drugs and alcohol do to the body. Just with education, students will see the health risks and physical risks they do to each student. In conclusion, drug testing isn't used for catching student athletes, but to discourage and decrease drug use.
Okay. I had 623.66.